Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Azure Seas of Nita. I am the Heizmeister, and this is the third and last episode of the build series for my adventure. No, wait, not adventure. Ugh. Drone carrier. Sorry, I'm living in the past, apparently. Speaking of the past has become the present, because the changes made to the alpha branch that have been in testing for quite some while has been moved to stable. Yes, we are now on the stable branch with the newest additions, the newest changes, many changes to some propulsion systems, cram cannons, and a new mechanic has been introduced, the stability mechanic. However, I suggest you carefully read the patch notes. You get a much better picture of all the changes that way. Now then, our task today is to finally outfit this drone carrier with the system that actually gives it its name. Well, imagine that. I've waited 3 episodes to finally give this craft its very defining feature. Yeah, go figure. Anyway, we will be installing the drone spawning mechanisms and programming in the exactly set conditions for each drone to spawn. So, but before we do this, I need to make some revisions to the design, which in essence have to do with the newest changes that have been introduced in the new stable branch. Right then, where do I begin? Okay, let's begin right here. First and foremost, there we go, crank motors have had their power reduced by quite a bit. So, to compensate for this little issue, we have to basically use a very new mechanic here. I would like to have one of those, and no, damn it. See, I'm doing it wrong, right from the start. These are new flywheels that has been introduced, and the mechanic associated with them is quite interesting. We now have drive bands that can be connected to other crankshaft via these flywheels, and they are basically able to these motors here are able to work together to output more force onto a single crankshaft. Not crankshaft, but a drive shaft. So now, those of you who are familiar with physics and mechanics a bit might know that if you connect a large gear to a smaller one, then this should increase the rotational speed of the smaller gear. I don't know if this even works here. This might require some testing, but for now let's just do the same here with these small gears. So, 2 motors work in tandem to drive one drive shaft. Now if I only... there it is. Right then. And connected. There we see this this belt has been connected now. These motors now will work together. This does, however, increase my power consumption of the carrier quite considerably, but it should also increase the speed at which this carrier moves forward. Well, apparently I'm a way bigger idiot than I thought. See, in my effort to rebuild this entire system, I have disconnected a crucial part of this assembly here. These flywheels and motors are not connected to the propeller and the remaining drive shaft itself, so yeah, I'm an idiot. There we go, and the 16 and 17 meters per second that we did was just by the steam jets alone and maybe some simple propellers here. And now we are hopefully much faster. So they should get up to speed, and Yeah. That's it, probably. There we go. A large construction space for the rather voluminous bomber drones. Oh, and let's not forget this little space up here. This is where our, what's it called? The aerospace drone will be spawned. You know, the one that can seamlessly transition between space flight and atmospheric flight. I have actually finished the construction of this drone, and after making several prototypes, some of which I will show later, but now we have to concern ourselves with the actual spawning mechanism. Now, in the new update, there is also a way to have a breadboard influence way more components on a vessel now. And I'm hesitant, or maybe torn, between the decision of having a complicated setup of ACBs to trigger the spawning of a drone, or a breadboard. As you might know, or may not know, my skills with the breadboard are subpar. They are actually not that well developed. So, of course, the advantage of using a breadboard is you only place one block, and the rest of the programming is done within that UI of the block, and you can have this block very well protected. ACB setups, at least for me, they are a bit easier to handle, but they also take up much more volume and thus create more room for error, more room for blocks which can be destroyed, and this is something I do not want at all. So, what do I do? Look at all this empty space. After a while, I have finally finished setting up all the spawning locations. And as you can see, I had to make quite a lot of compromises in terms of aesthetics. Yeah, turns out that these drones actually need way more space than I initially thought to be able to be safely spawned. Because if only one part during the construction process touches this carrier here, then the whole drone will simply explode. Not very not very easy to set this up, but I have done so. Some of these spawners are hidden below deck, like these. Others, however, are in the superstructure itself, but I've also taken steps to armor them up quite considerably. So they should be taken out immediately, since we have to consider these drone spawners are, in a sense, this vessel's only offensive weapon. Yeah. Right then. So I have fighter drones, I have drones against surface targets, these bomber drones, two types of these, one against surface targets, one against submerged targets even, and I have my this aerospace fighter drone. There is something missing. Now we get to the point where I will unveil my little surprise that I have in store. There is another drone that I can spawn. That has to be spawned underwater. However, I fear that this drone, once it has been spawned, will have quite a short lifetime, since its only mission and purpose is to run at the enemy and blow up. Yeah. This will be a kamikaze drone. Out there in the distance we have our second favorite target, or well, for target practice, this is the Marauder. And here, below the depths, we have what I have dubbed the Terrorfish, a steam-powered torpedo. Yeah, I made use of these new rudders and a single large boiler with a steam jet attached to it, a simple AI, nuclear warhead, and not much else. Maybe some material storage. So, what will it do? Well, it will actually pick up quite a lot of speed for a torpedo or something that moves underwater. 54 meters per second, enough to catch most ships. Now, this torpedo can run for quite a long time and can traverse a long distance, so I think it would only be fitting to deploy it from a drone carrier that circles the battlefield from far away. It will then bonk into the enemy and activate its time-delayed fuse. After which, the Marauder has been propelled into the air by a sudden nuclear explosion located right at its rear end. Sounds unpleasant. Well, yeah, that's basically it. It's a derpy little suicider craft, and I'm going to install this on the drone carrier. However, some measures have to be taken before I can safely deploy this. For example, it cannot be deployed below a certain depth below keel, because, you know, might run aground, and it's not much use to me if it cannot spawn properly. So, let's get to the actual setup of these drone spawning conditions. So, the drone carrier is finished for now, at least functionally finished. I still need to paint it and add some decorations. But I've set up all the spawning conditions for the drones using ACBs because I could not get it to work using the breadboard. You see, there is currently no way to discern the enemy volume using the breadboard, or at least I haven't found a way yet. Yeah, so let's see if this actually works or if everything will crash into the deck. This is one of my greatest fears, actually, that this might not work out as I had hoped. Let's begin with something easy. A prowler. Okay. There should be something spawning. Oh, there it is. So, we are spawning 4 fighter drones simultaneously and a sniper drone. Let's hope there are no accidents on takeoff. And there is the bomber drone. The carrier is capable of spawning 2 bomber drones, by the way. Both are mutually exclusive. That means if a volume is large enough, then the large bomber drone will be spawned, and if the volume of the enemy is a little bit smaller, then the small bomber drone will be spawned. Right, fighter drones away. Fighter drones away, and why did the sniper drone get released way too early there? This shouldn't have happened. Oh, I have a feeling that in stable the blueprint spawners may be a bit bugged. Yep, there we go. Takeoff complete. Now, as for the others that haven't quite taken off yet, let's just delete them from play. Now, in the campaign, they would normally be deleted automatically. Oh, a terrorfish. Since they just have low health, that's all. Right, another terrorfish is on its way. Ah, lovely little torpedoes there. And looks like the crossbones, no, not the crossbones, the, what's it called? Prowler is despawning, and since the volume has slipped below a certain value, the aircraft is now spawning a small bomber drone. And there we go. And yes, they can both spawn at the same time, but the smaller one always gets completed first, and there are no clipping issues, as you have just seen. Now let's see if this drone, with nothing happening right now, gets completed, or should I say gets released before it is actually completed, because this is extremely annoying. Oh, there we go. Haha, look at the drone fleet. Now then, let's try something else. How about a Tortuga? Conditions have been met. Ah, there it is! Actually, there seems to be a unit that's high enough for an aerospace drone to spawn. Now you get to see this design. To be fair, I have not painted it just yet. Now then, no collisions on takeoff, please. Although I don't care if anything collides, because these small drones explode instantly, and the resources are given back to me at a ratio of 1:1. And there it is, the aerospace drone. It's a little bit bigger, but as you can see now, it will fly up into the atmosphere, and once it has gone high enough, it will transition to spaceflight. This is quite easily visible once the ion engines activate. And there it is. Haha, seamless transition from atmospheric to spaceflight. I love it. Okay then. Yeah, looks like the drone carrier is happily spawning drones. One after the other. Anything that comes too close will get swatted out of the sky by its defensive armaments. Now, one thing I want to see is if my sniper drones and bomber drones are actually focusing on the Tortuga. Yes, there it is. Which is actually despawning. Oh dear. Oh dear. Dearie me. Okay then. And as you can see, this is the concept I was going with. If you leave the drone carrier alone for long enough, it will continuously spawn drones and replace the ones it has lost, therefore creating a major annoyance on the battlefield. And it will continuously adapt to the situation on the battlefield, meaning it will only spawn those drones that are required to engage certain enemies. And there we have one of these aircraft in a death spiral, high up in the sky. This is where probably our aerospace fighter will shine. You know, you can stop now. The Tortuga is already done for, but... Oh, I don't mind. Am I still... Oh yeah, I'm gifting commodities. And what do we get out of this? What a swarm. Well now, would you look at that? It has taken quite some time, but I have finally finished decorating and painting this new drone carrier. I've also adjusted the some spawning parameters for the drones, and I have adjusted the position of the drones on the carrier itself, so the position where they were spawned in, so that crashes, collisions and accidental disassembly should be less likely to happen. Anyway, the drone carrier is now finished and will be placed within the roster of my fleet. The ever-growing roster, that is. Okay, how about we do a final test? The true final test this time. Let me just get an enemy out there and we'll see how it goes. Okay, out there are now an Alcazar and a Palisade. I have chosen the Palisade primarily for its missile armament, to see if the drone carrier's defenses can keep up with it, and the Alcazar because this is my favorite punching bag. Right then, go go go, defend yourself. Right then. Okay, both enemy ships are now closing in with the Palisade already launching its missiles. We have a Terrorfish nuclear torpedo already on its way. And here you can see the adjusted spawn position of the drones. They are now spawned so that they fly off in opposite directions, so no crashes should happen anymore. And the only thing that I haven't managed to fix, there we go, sniper drone released, is that sometimes the bomber drones get released too early for whatever reason. Honestly, I have no idea. This seems to be a bug within the spawn system itself. Ouch. Yeah. And here is one of the shortcomings of this design. You go get him, bomber drone. Although you're missing part of your face. Anyway, it took a missile, so there's that. Yeah, the shortcomings of this design is that when I'm spawning bomber drone, this creates a dead zone for these rear Seabus guns. So there's a problem. Okay, let's see. You never took off anyway, and you can be deleted. Same with you. Right then, what is happening? So, fighter drones are in the air and we are currently engaging the Alcazar, it seems. There goes one of its fragmentation guns. Now, do we have done any damage with our terrorfish? I wonder. Let's see, that looks like a... Yep, that looks like a large chunk missing here from the palisade. Looks very much like the handiwork of the terrorfish. Now, this half-completed sniper drone here is absolutely not worth anything, but it should get repaired when it is within the proximity of its colleagues, as all those drones are actually equipped with repair tentacles, so they can repair each other. That does, however, consume a lot of materials if they get damaged a lot. And we see here that the missiles from the palisade are striking relentlessly into the drone carrier, which will receive a name, by the way. And I don't know if I've mentioned it yet, but yes, once I have done the final checkups, the final tweaks and a little bit of adjustment of this design, it will be on the workshop. There we go. New drone released. But I have to say, despite this bombardment, the drone carrier can in fact take quite some punishment, apparently. Granted, those are just high explosive missiles from the palisade, but still. And I think they even have two, maybe one warhead. So, now that there are no more obstructions within the line of fire for these Seabus, I hope that the defense will now go much more smoothly. And we do have our full complement of drones now in the air. All of those drones are sufficiently repaired, I assume. None of them are half finished and the palisade is gone. Alright then, one enemy down, one enemy left to go. Ah yeah, those laser-guided kinetic missiles. I think they are a very nice addition on those sniper drones. They are able to harass the enemy from afar, making use of large kinetic missiles. Go! Nice hit. Okay, granted, these missiles are not very large, long. They don't do a lot of damage, but I think it's enough to sufficiently cripple the enemy if it doesn't have excellent missile defense. And what do we have here? Well, looks like one drone bit the dust. It probably got in the way of a particle cannon. Or collided with a bomber drone. Oh, by the way, I've also increased energy generation on the drone carrier, so that it should now be able to fully support these bomber drones. These heavy bomber drones, basically, even if their particle cannons are overclocked quite a little bit. And there we have it. The Alcazar has been defeated. Bonk. There we go. So, is the drone carrier a very efficient way to defeat your enemies in Nita? No. No, it is not. It takes quite some resources to get all these drones going, since... Well, there goes another one. Since I opted to have drones that are a little bit more durable and protected by armor rather than just a jumble of functional components without any armor at all. Anyway, but it is a lot of fun, I say. This adaptive drone carrier now adapts to the situation on the battlefield, and it indeed is a lot of fun to deploy it. And the best thing about it is that in the campaign, once you have completed a battle with this drone carrier, these drones here will stick around as basically members of the fleet of this drone carrier. This drone carrier is then classified as the flagship. And they will also enter the next battle. Basically, after one battle, you have already spawned your complement of drones, and regardless what enemy you face, you can enter the battle with a full complement accompanying you. Isn't that nice? Yeah, they do that sometimes. Please do not question it. Right then, looks like we have reached the end of this episode and the end of this little build series. This is now the adaptive carrier Procyon, or well, Procyon, however you want to spell it, because I chose to use the German way of spelling Procyon there. Anyway, I hope you have enjoyed this little series, and as I said earlier, the Procyon drone carrier will be on the workshop once I have completed my final checks of this design and made sure that at least the flaws I can control are ironed out. By the way, the next project should be the amphibious ship, basically a ship that can seamlessly transition from a swimming mode into a hovering mode once it goes onto land. However, I do also have one plan in the back of my mind. I plan to do a, how do I say it, Onyx Watch fan build for quite some time actually, and yeah, I might show that before I start construction of this new amphibious ship. We'll see, we'll see. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed, and I guess I'll see you next time on the Azure Seas of Nita, either with a new Onyx Watch project or continuing the adaptive ships and vessel series with the amphibious ship. Until then, take care and goodbye.